I just dropped some of the greatest knowledge ever and it didn't save. I just spoke into the void and I'm so pissed. But I'm going to make it shorter. So I'm going to do it better this time. This is how I alchemize my anger for me just talking for 10 minutes straight and not saving. I'm going to alchemize my anger. Here it goes. So, all the people that were coming at me in my comment sections talking about, because I said, fuck Ogun, fuck Oshun, fuck Jesus, and fuck all these entities, right? They are vampires. They say I'm spreading false information. Cap! The reason you don't know who you are, your own universe, because you live in a system that is ran by a deity or entity called Jesus, aka the Son, who relies and requires you to worship him in order for him to survive. Only thing an entity is a thought form. There are multiple entities. The entity Jesus is just a large, greater entity than the entity of depression. If you say you are depressed, if you constantly affirm that you are depressed, you are creating an entity called depression. And that entity will follow you and serve you to make you right, as in you saying you are depressed. So now you've been feeding this entity with these negative thoughts and these negative thought patterns in a low frequency of vibration. That's how you've been feeding this entity called depression. So now when you go to get healed, that entity has become, there's a fire ass Rick and Morty episode about this. I'm gonna try to find it and put the clip in here. Once you stop feeding the entity called depression and you decide you want to be happy, the entity that you created called depression has its own ego because it built its own identity. It became something of its own self. So now this entity does not want to die. It wants to survive. So it's going to do whatever it can to trick you into keeping it alive and keep feeding it because it simply wants to survive. It doesn't have any problem with you per se. It just wants to live. It wants to survive. So the same thing with Ogun, Oshun, and Obatala. Fuck them. They are vampires because if you really understand yourself and knew the history of who you are, you created them. You created Ogun, you created Oshun. What is Oshun? Oshun is nothing but a name, a being or God that you created to describe an energy. If you take the energy or essence of love, the human mind or a child may not be able to comprehend intellectually or grasp what it means to be in love or be loved or the total comprehensive layers of love. So you created a name, Oshun. You created colors to go with it. You created a day that goes with it. You created different cowrie shells, all these things that you use to personify an energy called love so you can better understand it. You dumb motherfuckers don't understand that we use these entities and beings to teach. We use these beings to teach children because children were souls that incarnated in the planet and they got a fucking brain, aka the matrix, the labyrinth of the mind, the labyrinth of intellect and the ego. So in order to teach the children, we had to formulate different concepts of primal knowledge, primal forces and energies. We had to formulate and personify it into a story, into a character. That's why they're called fairy tales, because the fairies told me to tell them. They said this is the best way to get your point across to the people. Give them figures. Marvel, Null, Venom. Venom is nothing but describing melanin and the melanated people and how melanin is an actual cosmic thing, a cosmic substance that has been poured into the container of human beings. And certain human beings may not have that certain melanin within them. So the people with melanin are going to behave different because there is a being or entity or parasite that has living in a symbiotic relationship with the human body, but is not originally from Earth. It is not originally human. So it has not the same goals and desires as a human. So of course I'm going to sound alien to you because I do not care about human shit because I am not human. So of course I can say fuck Ogun, I can say fuck Oshun, I can say fuck Obatala. Because they are my children. My people created them. I could say fuck my creation if I want to. I'm trying to make a point to you ignorant fucks. So when you create these beings, when we created these beings, now, actually, Jesus, for example, the Son. That's why I say fuck Jesus. Jesus the Son. Jesus is nothing but an entity in a false light vampire that feeds on the masses worshiping him. You juicing Jesus up by worshiping him. That's why I throw my rakes up, my horns, and my pitchforks. Because the goat, the horns, the Baphomet is the 5-pointed star, the 5 points of man. You are 5 points of man, but you are living upside down and you are giving your energy to a deity outside of yourself. You're looking up, praying and hoping that he will give you something. You're sucking Jesus's dick. You're getting on your knees and you're sucking Jesus's dick and say, please give me some money. Please give me a job. Please help me get some pussy, Jesus. That's what you're doing. You're sucking off an entity and hoping he'll give you some words. You pathetic fuck. Where's your own power? Connect to your own source, nigga. Why would I have to beg Jesus for something that I can create myself? But there are beings and humans on the planet who can't create for themselves, so they have to worship and follow an entity. And that entity, when people speak out and go against that entity, it uses its minions to go at whatever is attacking it. That's why the Matrix will always send Agents Fifth to attack the beings in it that are trying to destroy it. Neo, they're going to send Agent Smith at you, Neo, of course. Because it's a system, it's an algorithm. You are a glitch in the Matrix. So, of course, the Matrix or the computerized algorithmic system of Earth is going to send cleanup crew to stop you. You're a virus. You're a glitch. You're not supposed to exist in this system. So, of course, it has to filter you out. Jesus is a bitch. And he used entities like Ogun, Oshun, Obatala, Oya to create this realm and have beings worship him. Yeah. So the supreme creator in the hierarchy has these archons or other beings. If you look at Jesus in the Last Supper, he's eating with the people the other vampires who helped create the world with him. He's the middle point. He's the son. But he's the falling son. He has to redeem himself by going and rising himself again. So when I go back and say, you are the 5 points of man, I throw up my horns because you are the Star of David. You are Allah. You are the arm, leg, arm, and the head. So if you put the Star of David, the 5 points, and you're standing like this, but you don't realize you're in the upside down world. It's a strange thing. It's a very strange thing that you are in the upside down world. And the true world is flipped on its head and it's underneath you. It's actually the underworld. So all the orishas are energies that existed at the beginning of creation. We originally use mythology in these beings. Shango is nothing but Thor. Okay? Obatala is nothing but Odin. Okay? So, different parts of the world have the same archetypical energy and archetype of deity with different names. You have Quetzalcoatl and those guys in the Aztec and Mayan parts of the world. You have Thor, Odin, Balder, Tyr, and all those guys In the Nordic, Upper European parts of the world, you have Ogum, Paulo Mayombe, La Santísima Muerte. You have those specific set of deities, gods, and entities in the Caribbean and Brazilian parts of the world, the southern parts of America. You have the zodiac. That's pretty much universal, but it's very prominent in America. Those are the same things. You have the African powers, which would be the Orishas. That's in the African diaspora. Then you have the Australian deities. Then you have the Celtic mythology, Celtic deities, right? So why is Shango the god of lightning and he has a hammer or an axe, and Thor is the god of lightning and he has a hammer or an axe, and Storm from Marvel is just Oya? They're all the same beings and entities. They just have different names and different descriptions from all different parts of the world, which has been passed down over time through oral traditions and stories, aka mythology, stories, mythos. The reason why mythology is so prominent and so effective in the highest form of science is because everything goes back to stories. If you go to Hollywood, Hollywood is nothing but stories and mythologies getting played out. That's why they put all the truth in movies and shows. And a lot of times these writers and directors don't even necessarily understand or know the science that they're giving, but they have been channeled into these art forms in order for the people to consume them in micro dose into knowledge and getting back into familiarity with what they once were in their history. That's why you resonate with certain shows. That's why certain shows and movies get so big, because there's something in your subconscious mind. There's something in you that remembers. So these mythologies and these deities, we use them to tell stories. Specifically, that was like the old educational system. You would tell stories to the children, and after so much repetition of hearing these stories, it will become embedded in you, embedded in your DNA. It will become a program in your mind. And then we will further explain, once they came of age and became more maturity in these systems, in these initiation systems. That's all why secret societies is how they are, because in the beginning, the chosen ones and those with the knowledge and the keeper of the light and the keepers of the flame believe that the masses were not mentally ready and capable of consuming and having the knowledge. So they kept it within a specific group in society. And that's where the corruption comes in. People wanting to keep and hoard all these things to themselves so they can rule over people. They can rule over you. So once again, these deities are only descriptions of energies. But these energies have been locked inside of a container. I reference Attack on Titan so much because Attack on Titan is a magnificent showcase of esoteric and Gnostic knowledge. These gods or deities were created to serve us. We created these gods, deities, and entities to serve us. Not the other way around. You were not created to serve and worship a deity, god, or entity. Those beings were created to serve us. So, Attack on Titan, the Kyojins. The Kyojins are simply, okay, that links back to mythology. The Titans. The story goes that the Titans were the original beings, and they used to run and rule the earth. Zeus then destroyed, or took a lightning bolt and destroyed those titans and made humans out of the dust of the titans. So the dust of the titans could be considered pigment or melanin or dirt or ash or soot, the burnt ash of the titans. The burnt ash of the titans. If you take that back onto Attack on Titan, Zeus, aka the king or Jesus, used the body or the dust of the titans to create the world and create humans. So that's why the titans were in the walls on Attack on Titan. They were the very foundation of society. And also the titans, the shifters, were used in war games amongst the different nations. So the king made a vow renouncing war to end the war amongst his people, and he threatened to trample the whole world with his titan powers if anyone tried to stop him.